Hello, Tom Barnett here again with another story behind the illustration. This one really involving the story behind the book itself. This simple concept, a horizontal world made vertical, is really the core concept of the book. That's the notion that Throughline CEO and founder Scott Williams immediately glommed onto when I first gave him the brief over a conference call in the fall of 2021. He actually told me during that first interaction on the material, this, he said, this simple concept is the entire book. This shifting from east-west to north-south, this shifting from longitudinal perspective to latitudinal, this shifting as you view the world on a world map hung on a wall from horizontal to vertical. Once you get that basic idea, the sail is essentially made. Before it became the core concept of the book, that horizontal shifting to vertical concept was the core idea of the brief I gave lots of times across the 2010s. I can't really come up with a number. After making the argument of climate change sending all species towards the poles and up in elevation, a pattern sure to be matched by humans, I presented this slide detailing the three zones of vertical integration as I defined them: west, center, and east. Once you accept that strategic logic, climate change triggering mass human migrations matching those of nature, then the notion of north-south integration seems rather obvious, as does this delineation of these vertical zones. Then, in the brief, to sum up the transformation I was describing, I'd show you this spinning Earth, and I'd note that east-west had long been the vector of focus, and then I'd crudely animate that east-west arrow in a counterclockwise rotation toward a north-south orientation. A somewhat crude visual representation, but it got the point across, and like I noted earlier, it constituted Scott's primary takeaway: a longitudinal mindset shifting to a latitudinal perspective. Human history has long been defined far more in an east-west fashion, but all that changes this century. So when Scott asked Jim Nuttall and I for a few early illustrations, even as I was just starting to write the opening pages of the book, he wanted them as examples to share with prospective publishers. This concept was one of the first of the three that I selected for Jim Nuttall to tackle. We did not discuss what I was looking for. Jim was just provided with the title phrase, a horizontal world made vertical, and the two previous slides that I showed you. This is what Jim came up with, and frankly, he pretty much nailed it from the get-go, as far as I was concerned. And it was very exciting for me to first see this illustration because it was basically the first one he had done. And I was so excited at how he captured what I was going for. I mean, this image gives me the three vertical slices, subtly enough. And it gives me those arrows from the briefing slides clearly being shifted from east-west to north-south. Simple and unambiguous. The next iteration sharpened those humans forcing the change, which I thought was a key choice on Jim's part. He could have just gone with the arrows shifting like on a clock with no human presence, but that would have been misleading and not true to the book's message. It was important that we showed humans were responsible for this profound shift in the environment, forcing a profound shift in strategic perspective. In the Red Team review, we got a couple of key bits of advice. First, in finalizing the illustration, Jim had somehow lost the motion indicators. which were crucial. Second, it made more sense to have the arrows a bit more angled, implying, in combination with those missing motion indicators, the dynamism of this transformation. Which gets us to the final book version. And here you can see, if I toggle back and forth a bit, just how much better that final version is with those subtle edits. Again, sort of the foundation stone of the 54 illustrations. The first one drawn, representing the core concept of the book. Jim, as far as I'm concerned, really nailed it on his first try, which is why we only had minor edits before publication. And that's the story behind this illustration. As always, we love it when people buy the book, when they recommend the book, when they praise the book online. I and my Throughline colleagues, we feel very passionate about this work. Please consider subscribing to my Substack newsletter. And see you next time, next illustration.